He didn't hunt anymore. The passing of years had stolen the need. His city was a silent hive, illuminated by the light of progress and the more literal light of street lamps and beacon towers. No crime, no sin had been committed in decades. The last vestiges of anarchy and resistance had died out soon after he began to broadcast his mutilations across the city via the picture interfaces available in every home, transmitting his victims screaming over the planetary communications net. Those executions, recorded in his own throne room, ended what little crime remained. His people knew he'd take to the streets at the slightest provocation. In their fear, the last souls holding out finally accepted the salvation he offered them. Nostromo Quintus, capital city of the sunless world, grew by the year. Spaceflight was no mystery to them, albeit in the most stunted and warpless sense, reaching out to a handful of worlds in neighboring star systems. Nostromo had traded its abundance of adamantium with these worlds for generations. Though under the Night Hunter's kingship, planetary exports rose to unparalleled levels, as did the profits of such endeavors. The city's foundries and forge fires burned hotter, the refineries and processing plants spread across the urban sprawl, and the mines clawed ever deeper into Nostromo's priceless crust. After curfew, the city slept in absolute serenity. Each dawn the workforce rose in the half-light of the dying sun, to repeat the cycle of labor again and again and again. It stank of industrial excess, that fiery reek of charcoal and chemical tangs. The people themselves stank of gray lives and bitter fear. The night haunter stood on the balcony of the faceless gray spire he considered his castle, staring down at his city alongside the leering gargoyles shaped into the stonework. Today would be the day. He knew it, as he knew all things. The answers came to him as they always did, in his dreams. Since mastering the world, he found his post-mortal senses sharpening beyond anything he'd imagined. He knew, on some voiceless level, he was becoming something. He was ripening, maturing into whatever it was he was born to be. It manifested itself first in knowing what people would say before they spoke, and soon became a habit of dreaming the events of most days on the nights before they ever happened. Soon enough, he was dreaming while awake. What would happen began to overlay his vision of what was happening. He'd speak to an underling, lose track of the man's voice, hearing instead the servant's last words, when he was destined to die from a heart failure in 9 years. He'd see the faces of his governors, each one lined by years they'd not yet lived, carrying scars they hadn't yet earned. One dream stuck very fiercely indeed, burning brighter than all the others. At the last conclave of his district governors, he'd ordered them, "Watch the skies! A fleet is coming! A fleet of such size their engines will light the sky the way our sun never could." "Will there be war, my lord?" "Yes, but not with the arrivals. The war will come afterwards, far from Nostromo's shores."
"Who are they? What do they want?"
"They are my father's warriors, and he is coming for me." The city wept at the delegation of light. They wept collectively, every man, woman, and child gathered on the streets, their pale faces staring at the strangers in their midst, as the sky was brightened by the false stars of void ship engines. The strangers walked in slow, regal parade. The ground trembled, quite literally, with their rhythmic tread. They walked in great grinding phalanxes, different formations wearing armor of black, of gold, of royal purple or earthen gray. Giants led them, giants towering above their warriors as their warriors towered above mortal men. Leading the giants was a sun incarnated in human skin, a god in a man's flesh, his soul fire uncontainable in a sheath of flesh and bone. Blindness was the reward for all who dared look upon him. Those afflicted spent the rest of their lives sightless, but for the image of the living God flash-flamed into their dead retinas. The people of Nostromo Quintus watched their city invaded by these marching off-worlders. Millions upon millions of mouths locked silent, eyes wide with awe. The silence was so intense, so unnatural it bordered on inhuman. Even the rain stopped. The storm season itself was holding its breath as the procession of outworld might reached the Night Haunter's tower at the city's heart. He was waiting for them. The army ceased as one, every single one of the 250,000 soldiers standing motionless in the same moment. The 4 giants stepped forwards. The blazing god led them. The first demigod, clad in wrought gold, inclined his white-haired head in majestic acknowledgement, a king greeting an equal.
I am Rogel Dorn,
he said, and the Night Haunter said nothing. In his mind's eye, he saw the giant die, dragged down by 100 murderers in a dark tunnel, their knives and swords wet with the warrior's blood. The second giant wore armor of patterned gray, etched with 10,000 words, as if a scholar had taken a quill to a stone. He nodded his shaven head, tattooed, likewise inked with scripture, the lettering gold upon the tanned skin. I am Lorgar Aurelian. We have been seeking you, brother, he said, his voice a hymn where Dorn's had been a measured, stately demand. There was sorrow in his otherwise kind eyes, sorrow at the dark city, its unhealthy people, the obviousness of their colorless, exhausting lives. Again, the Night Haunter said nothing. He saw this warrior, crowned in psychic fire, screaming up at a burning sky. The third giant wore armor of riveted, dense black. His arms were solid silver, yet contoured and moving as living limbs. His voice was the steely grind of a foundry's bowels.
Brother, I am Ferris Manus,
he said. His eyes were dark but not cold. The Night Haunter remained silent, seeing the warrior's head clutched by its empty eye sockets in another man's armored fingers. The last giant wore armor painted the violet of an alien sunset. His hair was silvery, long, and elegant. He alone smiled, and he alone met the Night Haunter's eyes with warmth in his own.
I am Fulgrim, and it is good to finally meet you, my brother.
The Night Haunter still said nothing. He saw this final giant in only the faintest of images, always slithering and laughing, never entirely visible. The god stepped forwards next, his arms open wide. He drew breath to speak.
Call.
The first syllable struck the Night Haunter with the force of a spear through the heart. He went to his knees, gasping for breath that wouldn't come, saliva stringing from his bared teeth. Blood ran from his burst heart, just as it gushed from his cut throat. His grasping hands had no hope of stemming the flow. His whole life rushed out in a liquid torrent, burning his cold fingers. Images of murder were hammering against the back of his eyes. And then he felt a hand on his head. The pain died in a pulse, restoring his sanity in a moment of mercy. His throat wasn't cut. His heart hadn't burst. The Night Haunter looked up to see the golden god, faceless and ageless, resolve into the image of a man. The man-god's face could have been the face of any male on any one of 1,000,000 worlds. It was all men, all at once, the apotheosis of man.
Be at peace, Conrad Curze. I have arrived, and I intend to take you home.
The Night Haunter reached up to rake his sweaty hair back from his gaunt features, recovering from the vision of death.
That is not my name, Father. My people gave me a name, and I will bear it until my dying day. And I know full well what you intend for me.
The scene froze around him. The Night Haunter looked at the Emperor, the godling claiming paternity over a coven of madmen and warlords, frozen in time. He looked at his brothers, at their legions arranged in beautiful formation behind them. He looked at the crowd, frozen in the same motionless picked image perfection. Motes of dust glinted in the air, locked in the same spell as the people all around. The night haunter turned, seeing a figure clad in the ceramite the color of clean midnight, the armor plates cracked by painted lightning, and the warrior stood alone, watching in silence, his black eyes never judging, never accusing.
Sevatar, you shouldn't be here.
Sevatar walked closer. His bootsteps echoed around the street, and his black eyes kept darting to the frozen crowds. He avoided glancing at the Emperor. Memory or not, he had no desire to feel his eyes fill with molten gold. The last time he looked upon the Emperor in the flesh, he'd endured 7 weeks in the Apothecarian, while his vision healed. Impatience had driven him to the very edge of demanding augmetic eyes.
My lord, you shouldn't be here. Tell me why you came.
He was Curze now, no longer simply the night haunter. He stood in midnight clad, in reflection of his son. His hands were barbed by the murderous scythe-link claws constructed for him in the laboratory forges of distant Mars.
And what kind of question is that? You are my Primarch, father. Why wouldn't I risk myself to save you? Because I am your Primarch, and I lead a legion of foul-hearted wretches with no sense of loyalty to me, or to each other. And yet, I am so very popular among my brothers. The mystery of it all fascinates me. Why do you dwell on these moments, Lord? What calls you back to the past when the future is still threatened?
Curze didn't answer. He beckoned Sevatar to follow and began to walk down the street, weaving between the statue warriors of the Emperor's children.
You shouldn't be here. Not because this is private to me. I don't care about that, Sev. Then why not? You know why not. In a single night, you've undone decades of suppressing your talent. Oh, your psyche is no longer guarded, young Sevatar. I can read you in a way I've not been able to do for years. I can see through your barriers, for they are no longer barriers at all. I don't want to know. Yes, you do. Everyone does. I asked you not to tell me back then, sire.
Sevatar followed, his face darkening.
Please, keep to our former agreement.
No.
You die in battle. Sevatar swallowed his saliva and spoke. That's hardly surprising, Lord, though I've no desire to know the rest. Oh, you're safe, Sev. I see little beyond that obvious truth. You're making me regret doing this. I'd hoped to find you and save you, sire. Oh, see, that's why I enjoy your company so much, Sevatar. You tell the driest jests.
He began to speak as he always did when officially reporting to his liege lord.
I've gathered 1/3 of the legion, Lord Curze. The Chireptera stands ready once more. I intend to scatter the fleet, leading the bulk of our forces to Terra, and the rest will dissolve into the void, harassing Imperial supply lines, burning worlds, carving fresh skinning pits at the heart of cities. Just like the old days, yeah? You say Imperial as if we aren't Imperial ourselves. I'm not sure we are anymore, sire. Trez is with me. I can hear him, feel him, rather, in the back of my mind. He's helping me be here, though I'm not sure how. He's a good man. At least as good as one is likely to find in our fleet. We are none of us good men, are we? We do what's necessary, sire. Lord, speak, Sev. Why do you hate us?
He asked it calmly, smoothly, without malice or offense. Yet the words still stopped Curze in his tracks, causing him to turn. The long blades curving from each of the Primarch's knuckles began to reflect the golden light of the Emperor's halo, several streets away.
What? Why are you the only Primarch to hate his own legion? What have we done to you? I spoke with Angron and Lorgar not long ago. They told me of their purges, cleansing the untrustworthy elements from the 12th and the 17th. I laughed when they said it, at the sheer absurdity of the idea. They knew exactly when to stop the killing of the weak, the treacherous, and the corrupt within their bloodlines. Whereas I wouldn't even know where to begin culling mine. On any other day, sire, such words might hurt my feelings. Oh, look around you, Sevatar. You were born on this world. You grew to adulthood here just as I did. The Emperor praised me for my rule over this world. Even Fulgrim admired it. A model of compliance, an obedient world, they said. Were my people happy? Did that even matter? I made these people human, despite their feral drives. I made them civilized, despite their baser instincts. I raised them above the level of beasts. That was my responsibility to them as a superior being, and I fulfilled it. And see how my people rewarded me. I was gone only a handful of years before everything soured. My own homeworld poisoned my legion with the recruits who were nothing, worthless beings as soldiers. Rapists, murderers, thieves, the scum, the dregs, the detritus. Sire, you are no different. The Legion is disorderly and vile because it is cast in your image. No, you don't understand. You don't understand. I've never claimed to be perfect, Sevatar, but I became the sinner, the monster, the night haunter, so my people would never have to. And look at the result. Look at the recruits from Nostromo. Less than a decade after I departed. Look at the filth they sent me. Look at the disgusting dregs of humanity, my own apothecaries infused with my genetic material and reforged into Astartes. The 8th is poisoned, Sev. Generations of men who are murderers in my image, yet devoid of my conviction. They are killers and abusers because they want to be, not because someone had to be. The end result is the same. Fear is the weapon. Where is the nobility in any of this? Sevatar gestured to the streets of Nostromo Quintus around them. You can claim a savage nobility, father, but this is far more savage than noble. There was no other way, no? What other ways did you try? Answer me, father. What politics of peace did you teach? What scientific and social illumination did you bring to this society? In your quest for a human utopia, what other ways did you try beyond eating the flesh of stray dogs and skinning people alive? It was the only way. The only way to do what? The only way to bring a population to heal? How then did the other Primarchs manage it? How has world upon world managed it without resorting to butchering children and broadcasting their screams across the planetary voxnet? Their worlds were never as serene as mine was. And this serenity of yours died the first second your back was turned. So tell me again how you succeeded. Tell me again how has this all worked out perfectly. Curze was on him in the time it took to blink, the Primarch's hand wrapped around his throat, lifting him from the ground and stealing his breath. You overstep your bounds, First Captain. How can you lie to me like this? How can you lie to yourself? I stand here, inside your mind, witnessing a theater of your own memories. Your way is the 8th Legion way now, but it has never been the only way. Just the easiest way. Curze tightened his grip. You lie. Sevatar narrowed his eyes, his last breath escaping as Curze squeezed. You enjoy this way. You came to love it, just as we all did. The power, the righteousness. Curze released him. Sevatar crashed to the ground, his armor joints snarling as his ceramites scraped the rockcrete. Son of a... The son of a god. Get up, Sevatar.
Leave me be. The first captain rose to his feet, his vision blurred.
I am going nowhere, sire. Not without you. I admire your tenacity. I always have. But you are a shadow of what I am, Sevatar. You cannot match me. Go. No way!
Sevatar filled his lungs, the sterile air viciously cold as he drew it in. Trez released his hand. The Primarch slumbered before them, scarred from the lion's blade. His other senses filtered back into life. He smelled the bleachy chemical reek of the apothecarian, a smell which could never quite hide the scent of fresh blood. He heard Trez's labored breathing and the beat of the old man's heart. He heard the sirens. Sevatar retuned back into the Voxnet, immediately assaulted by 500 voices overlaying each other. He focused on the scrolling runes dancing down his retinal display and activated a direct link to the flagship.
This is Sevatar. First Captain!
He didn't recognize the voice. Human, certainly, but that could be one of several hundred bridge crews. He had difficulty telling their voices apart. In truth, he even had trouble telling their faces apart.
Tell me everything. It's the Dark Angels, sir. They found us.